So we got a couple things to talk about. Over the last, starting last week and then this week and then next week, I said I was going to be doing this current events kind of thing, just because I know there's so much to talk about and there's so many people talking about so much. I just wanted to give you a balanced approach and maybe talk about some of the things that people are ignorant of. Like, for example, my mom had called me a couple weeks ago, and she likes to come down every couple months, and she says, she goes, well, I'm thinking about coming down in April. I was like, okay. I said, well, you should come down for the eclipse. She goes, what? I said, you're not serious. She goes, what eclipse? So right now, my mom's life consists of hanging out in Cincinnati, doing stuff, flying down to Florida and sitting on the beach in the condo. She's retired. She's 75, so she's not all into everything that's going on. All right? Sometimes that's a good way to be, but as long as you got somebody in your life that tells you there's an eclipse coming, right? Right. Don't what? Right, right. Well, because she was still thinking about it, and so she called me yesterday, and she goes, yeah, the tickets are $1,000 to get down there now, so I won't see you. I was like, all right. I said, well, you do realize that all you have to do is drive north about an hour, because it's actually coming through just north of Columbus. And she's like, oh. I said, I'll send you a map. So I say that because there's a lot of people that don't know that there's a whole lot of things going on. The opposite side of that, there are too many people making up things that are not going on. So I like to consider myself a voice of reason and balance. I am a man who pursues truth. I do not pursue speculations. I can say and look at things and go, maybe, but I will not say something is factual until I can see that it's factual. All right, so we're going to talk about some of the stories. Let me recap last week. So we went through the condition of the country and listed all of the moral and financial failures and all the stuff that is leading to the coming. I said it plainly, and I'll keep saying it that way. We don't come out of this. We don't. Without a revival that is worthy of documentation of a 67th book of the Bible, we don't come out of it. Donald Trump's not going to fix it. Joe Biden's not going to fix it. There's no political system that is going to fix the moral decay that is in this nation. Only a revival and the Spirit of God moving. Is the global chaos. You probably don't know about it if all you do is get on CNN and Fox or MSNBC. Of course, if you get on MSNBC, you're going to find out that Trump started it all. There's all kinds of natural events and disasters and things happening. Stuff that people don't take into account that we kind of overlook. Now, the conspiracy guys will take it far, but it is one of those things that you go, why is all of this happening? For instance, why do we have so many food processing plants catching on fire and shutting down? Why do we have so many train derailments? Why do we have refinery fires for where the oil's refined? What on earth is going on with all the cattle? You know, people forgot about it. It was a year and a half ago, the winter last year, that thousands and thousands of the cattle in Kansas were frozen to death because of that blast that came down and that shut all the windmills down in Texas because of all the ice and everything. They completely overlooked the fact that many people, some farms actually lost their farm because their entire herd was frozen to death. And then you got the disease. Right now, everybody's tripping about the bird flu in the cows. Might be something to watch. Just don't go kissing any cows, and you right now you ain't gonna worry about it. You know, you do gotta be serious once they start, cutting them things up. I mean, Scott and Kim are good, and then you also had the fire that basically took out 1/3 of the Panhandle last week and destroyed the oldest farm in America. And then also there's just a lot shutting down, and I guess we have to add into the bridges. Now, I woke up Tuesday morning. Casey was already up, and I walk into our little sitting area there, and so she goes, apparently a bridge got knocked down by a barge or something last night, and I ain't even pushed the coffee button yet, because first thing I do is wake up, bathroom, coffee maker, and right, and I said I ain't even got over there yet. And she tells me that, and I said, well, I said, I promise you, if you get on YouTube or TikTok right now, somebody's already got the conspiracy stream running. Before you even know the story, somebody already said that it was China running into the thing. And it was later on that afternoon before the video started surfacing. But you know, you look at certain things, you go, wow, that's interesting. And one person that I saw a video on said this is the death by 1,000 cuts. You know, that whether it is conspiratorial, whether or not there's a big cabal that they're trying to bring down the country or not, either way, God is whooping on this nation. And whether China hacked into that particular thing is one of the conspiracies and they directed it right to the pylon. God did, maybe, if you want to look at it that way. Or it just lost power and it just drifted into the pylon. Right? It's just the way the currents were going. The guy was on the radio going, I need a tug, I'm out of power. You know, but, well, he's a plant, see. He was just giving credence to the idea. You can take it anywhere, okay? All right. And so I'm serious about that we are in a very difficult situation. One of the things that I didn't really hit on last week, which everybody wants to talk about right now, on top of the other 50 million things, is all the immigration stuff. And yes, there's all kinds of conspiracies while it's happening. But obviously, for whatever the reasons are, nobody cares. What's the spiritual reason? When God was going to judge Babylon, Babylon put its trust in its walls. And God said, I am going to bring men from within your walls and bring you down from within. That's in Jeremiah 51, I think it is. That's probably what's happening. You could argue, well, it's really political. You know, one party's just trying to get more votes in or something like that. Either way, God's using it. It just doesn't, when people don't have, I've often said that when people are coming to this country, if you want to come, wave the American flag. Don't wave the Guatemalan flag. Don't wave the Mexican flag. If you want to come, say, I want to be a part of you. Don't come and say you're going to accept me. And anyway, that's not what this is about. But the reason I say that we're not coming out of it is because there's just no voice of repentance. Anybody that has the platforms, nobody's calling for repentance. Nobody. You got a few small people, but nobody that has your Jesse Duplantis, your Kenneth Copelands, your John MacArthur's, anybody that's known within the country, they're just not calling for a regular national repentance. Jonathan Cahn, pick one. And the other reason is there's no unity within the body. There's no desire or hunger to see a change in this. There's nothing but disunity within the body. And it's no different in the Messianic community. None. There are musicians that won't play together, preachers that won't preach together, won't talk to one another. It's not going to change. It'll change when the judgment comes, but when there's not a push for it, and nobody's, again, who's got the platform is doing it. And I spent a lot of my week, normally I normally let what Paul says, let the ignorant remain ignorant. I didn't do so well on that this week. Why? I'm not focusing on the resurrection today. Why? Because it's 30 days out. The Passover is in 30 days. But neither am I condemning those who are celebrating the Lord's resurrection tomorrow. I have had my fill of self-righteous people getting on Facebook and condemning people who do not know any better. I am getting tired of the Babylonian hunters. Tired. And I laid into a whole bunch of them. Because of all the good. And I said, look at all the good that a lot of our traditional Sunday guys are doing. And then the idiot. There's no good but within Torah. I know you're about 45 minutes away. I think I can get there in 20.
Now you got something to pick me up on the way.
Right. And so much so that the one guy I knew a little bit of the backstory, he put this thing out that anybody not keeping Sabbath is sinning. I said, what about people that break away from the community and walk in unforgiveness? I said, is that sin?
Right.
I didn't get a response on that one.
Bet you didn't.
And so I get it when we talk and we want to share what it is that we've come to know and understand. And I kept saying to all three of the groups that were just kind of going on this rant, give me the list of all of the names of the people that said, I am so thankful that you sat in your ivory tower and threw stones at me. I now see the ignorance of my revelation. Thank you. Give me the list of names. Nobody listens like that. I've told you all 1,000 times, talk to me and I'll have a conversation with anybody. Come at me and I'll come right back at you. That's how most people are wired. And sitting there running around and putting things up and saying, by doing this on Friday, you're not right with the Lord. By celebrating what's happening on Sunday, you're not right with the Lord, is not how you get people to understand the joy of the Sabbath, the joy of the feast, and understanding the context of Passover and all of that. And so I say all of that because it's all from the Messianic community. I got a book in my library completely by accident, but not by accident. I was home in Cincinnati just on leave years ago, shortly after I became part of more in Hebrew roots and Messianic stuff. And I went through this Christian library there, bookstore, and I went to their Judaica section, one shelf, and half of it was 5 displays of the same book. And it said, Hebrew roots is not Christianity. And I was like, well, I think I'll buy this and read it. I forgot the man's name, but I know the Lord directed me there for this. Because this was a man who was involved in the Hebrew roots in its inception, if you want to call it that, from the Jesus movement in the late 60s and early 70s. And by the early 80s, he left it. He said, because there is nothing but hatred and vitriol in this group. He goes, all they do is bash Sunday people. And I was like, wow, talk about being bitter. I guess I need to republish and rewrite the book, right? Because that's what we see. And that's why I will tell you very strongly that I will fight against anybody that tries to do that and act like that in here. That is not what this is about. And so many people, it's really sad that we now, most of the education and the theology that comes in our environment, especially in Arkansas, since they didn't have any place to reach out to for a while, comes from Pastor Google and Rabbi YouTube. And people aren't taught how to read and they're not taught how to study. And they get some things, and then people who have 5 minutes worth of Hebrew, or they got a dictionary, or they got a translator, they think they're now Hebrew scholars. And then because now we have done what Jesus warned us about, is to be cautious of deception. And now we have allowed ourselves to take everything and then now believe everything is a deception. You can't trust anything anymore. And so when anybody says anything, and you go, and I said to the one guy, I said, the text can't be any clearer. I said, what you have is a belief like the pre-tribulation rapture people. I said, the Bible speaks of it, but it doesn't contextualize when it's pre or post. So you have to believe which one you want to believe in. I said, I have dozens and dozens and dozens of texts in the scriptures that says this was not put upon the Gentiles. You have a belief that it is incumbent upon the Gentiles, but I can point to scriptures that you regularly deny or twist without reading in the plain, simple text. It's why when I say, what's the context? And quit reading your beliefs into the text. It frustrates me. I'm very frustrated. Can you tell? It's like, I use this example. Ben, you got a degree in music, right? I know nothing about music. I cannot sing. I can occasionally and somewhat keep a beat. But to me, when I listen to these people, and I use this analogy, I use it with Matt. If anybody says, this is what that means, to me, when I hear this stuff, it's like me trying to say to somebody, well, that's an A minor, when it's a G sharp, or whatever. That's about all I know. But if you sit there and go, well, I saw it on this YouTube video, and I listened to the one guy played, and that's an A minor. You're going, no, that's a G sharp. Well, I just believe it is. Because I see if you just take the little dash there and change it and alter it a little bit, and then you subtract 5 from it, then the G comes in. That's what people do. That's how they study. That's their theology. And then if you try and show them, no, there's this thing called the law within music, and then there's music theory, And then if you go, there are certain, it's just like the same thing happens here. Now we got all these Yahuwah people running around because they won't study the Hebrew language. They found their favorite YouTube video. And so it's just like me running around going, hi, Biley.
Appreciate that.
Hey, Scope. You're violating laws that are established within the language simply because somebody else who didn't study didn't find out. Well, it was hidden. The rabbis hid it. The rabbis stole it. Did this. Pastors did this. And then you get everything, and now you have nothing in unity. Also, that's why I was going to use the example of Pan Babylonius, too. You got to change your name, bro. He's got a B in his name. Root word for Baal starts with a B. Babylon starts with a B, Jim. You're going to hell, Billy. You got Babylon all over your name, boy. That's how they study. It sounds comical, but it's frustrating. And people are given platforms in this foolishness. It's one of the other reasons why there's no hope. Because the revelation that God is starting to bring in these days is the restoration of the Sabbath, the feast, the Hebrew roots, the connection to our faith. And now all we do is beat people over the head with it and then misrepresent it and try to put people in the same bondage that the Pharisees did with all of their rules and traditions. So I'm going to encourage you today that there's no hope. I got good news. There's no hope. It's like I use the right. I like to watch the Lord of the Rings movies, and there's that one scene where the guy is at the end. He comes over and he looks over the thing, and the entire armies are just at the base of the mountain. He's like, "We're doomed! We're doomed! Run for your lives!" I know it's not true. That's why it's just. I hope something changes. Especially within our community, because that's where my heart is and that's where my focus is at. And I really believe that in the midst of all of this chaos, at some point, people are going to start asking what's going on. Okay. All right, so there's your recap. Well, I don't at the moment anticipate any shouting or yelling at people. I kind of got that out last week. No, it's because I want us to remember our focus is on the coming of the Lord and His kingdom. That's what our focus is about. It's the problem that I have with the hyper-focus on the American gospel. This is just a nation in the long list of nations that God used to make His plans happen. And when He's done with it, He's going to go, "Thank you for your service." I think He's done with it. Doesn't mean that He's not going to use us, but that's not what people are preaching today. They're preaching an American-centric gospel. Not that we can be a tool in the instrument of the hand of the king, when we don't realize that the king is using a lot of people, even when they're being slaughtered daily and by the minute in Nigeria right now. The kingdom is being preached there. It's being preached in Iran. It's got to be about the kingdom. All right. One of the things that I know everybody's kind of focused on right now is all the AI stuff. It's pretty crazy. Billy could do weeks on that alone. I mean, he's always sending me a video, sending me a clip, sending me an article or something. And it's just how much is going on in that world without God is concerning, to say the least. One of the things they talk about, they use this phrase about like a computer becoming self-aware, which is a terminology that they pulled from Terminator. Was it Skynet? But this term, the AGI, what is it? Artificial General Intelligence, is that what it means? So what that means is a computer has become as smart as a human being. Well, that one's next. So one of the guys, I think it was the guy who's in charge of the AGI stuff in Microsoft, said that by 2029, the artificial intelligence we have will then reach the same level of intelligence as a human. Then Elon Musk came out and said, no, that's going to happen this September. He said by 2029, all the AI will be as smart as every single human in the world combined. Who knows what that means? Here's the problem, is they can't go, somebody unplug it and plug it back in, please. We need to reboot this thing. And this race is worse than the nuclear race. Because, and it's not going to change. Nobody's going to get a control of it. These people who have tried to get control of it through laws and all this other stuff, they're fighting the Chinese, the North Koreans, the Russians, anybody else that wants this. Because the minute they control that, they do control the world. Yeah. They do. It's not like the nuclear bomb where we got to hang on to it for a little while. Then you get a couple guys who wanted to make some money, and then they sell it to the Russians. It is, once they have it, they will be able to go, stop, shut down, end all things. It's serious stuff is coming. It really is. I just wanted to play this. Go ahead and play that brief clip. I just wanted you to see some kind of weird stuff in language that they're using.
So here is one of the things they talk about is the misinformation Armageddon, how artificial intelligence could undermine democracies. I'll make reference to Patrick's article that he wrote this week, The Gaping Holes in AI Theory and Practice, and how that, and he talks about technocracy and that. He has a Substack, you can, I think it's called the Quickening Report, and you can go get that. But this is a couple clips of NVIDIA rollout of technology this week. Look at the wording that they use. I am a visionary.
Illuminating galaxies to witness the birth of stars.
This is a big conference, about 15,000 people this week that NVIDIA held.
And sharpening our understanding of extreme weather events. I am a helper, guiding the blind through a crowded world.
I was thinking about running to the store.
And giving voice to those who cannot speak.
To not make me laugh.
I am a transformer, harnessing gravity to store renewable power. And paving the way towards unlimited clean energy for us all. I am a trainer, teaching robots to assist, to watch out for danger, and help save lives. I am a healer.
It goes on about a dozen more times with the whole I am. Now, very strange that they would use such terminology. Now, they might be trolling Christians too, you know, to get people to kind of trip out. It's like people talked about NASA's getting ready to do some launch on April the 8th. You know, it's some test thing, and the thing that they call the launch is named after Amun-Ra, you know, the god of light of Egypt, right? And so this guy was tripping out about why, you know, I'm going to talk about more all that next week during the eclipse stuff. But this guy, the one Pentecostal guy I listen to, he's like yelling into the mic about it. And why would they do that? And I was like, because they're trolling you. It's not that they're worshiping that God. They're doing it because there's probably some kid that doesn't go to church anymore that grew up in a Bible class and say, hey, let's get all the Christians excited. They could, you know, who knows? I'm just saying that it's interesting that whether knowingly or unknowingly, they're using this kind of language more than any other thing in the history of the world that has the ability to be the image, to be the controller of the mark. It's crazy stuff. It really is. Could it be the new Babylon? Could be. Babel, all but one voice. You don't have to go to school anymore to learn how to speak a language. If you want to go talk to somebody in another language, You just talk into your phone, it'll play it right back to them in their language. And then vice versa. You listen to what they have to say, and it'll repeat it right back to your language that fast. And remember of Babel, it said nothing would be impossible for them when they all became one voice. And everybody's talking about the Elon Musk Neuralink stuff and all that. They're using all of this language that is specific for God, for Jesus. Because they even said that when all of this technology, it says they're going to make the deaf see and the deaf hear, the blind see, and the lame walk. They use that exact language. And when Jesus said, "Go and tell John what you see," they're using all of that language. Again, purposefully or not, it sure is sounding a lot like this whole Babel, and then evolution into Babylon, the thing that controlled all of society. They blew a horn, and everybody was supposed to bow down. Send you a message, and everybody's supposed to respond. It's crazy. You got this whole digital currency thing that our government's about to push sometime this summer, and so could this thing be the image of the beast? I can't even fathom anything that would be more controlling and more powerful. Because it's kind of funny. We're all where we're at because remember, I say I personally cannot see anything at the moment, but I could be wrong. It would be the second time. But we look back in time now and we kind of snicker at all the barcode people. 88 Reasons Why Jesus is Coming Back in 1988, and the first, middle, and last slash in the barcode is 666. And now we're like, man, and I've kind of fallen into the system. I hardly ever carry cash anymore. Just kind of the way it's been. It's not because now, we're so spoiled. I was like, the card thing's out. I got to go in and pay for my gas. Added 30 seconds to my day. It's just simple. It's easy. I joked with the one guy, sarcasm. I said, I'm ready for the mark of the beast just so I don't have to remember 50 passwords. I said, except for that going to hell thing. Because it's just how many times I told the one guy, it was years ago, because I said the one time I was calling about something and wherever they connected me to about my computer, I'd had enough of, is the computer on? And I said to the man on the phone, I said, if you ask me one more time, if my computer is plugged in and on, I said, we're going to have a problem. I said, it is on and it is plugged in. That wasn't even before I got saved. What's everybody else talking about nowadays? UFOs. Remember what I alluded to last week? They changed the terminologies. They don't talk about UFOs anymore. They talk about UAPs. Unidentified aerial phenomena. Why'd they change it? Because scientists have come out and said it's impossible to travel the galaxy. Even if you went at the speed of light, it would take like 2,200 years to travel the galaxy, just ours, I think. It was some crazy number. And so to think that they're going from other places, like other galaxies, and then flying into ours, it's impossible. So they said what they're doing is they're from other dimensions. And so now that's why they call them unidentified aerial phenomena, because these things are happening, but they're no longer saying they're spaceships. That's a big deal. Because now, I remember, I'm not a fan of Bill Nye the Science Guy, but even he would come out and say, he goes, it's ludicrous to think that people are flying from across the galaxy, they're flying down here and impregnating our cows.
They ain't got any better to do.
They ain't got nothing else to do. He said, or with all of the people, the amateur astronomers, he said we would have pictures galore if they were coming in and out all the time. And I was listening to this one guy on this one, he was like, he goes, I really feel sorry for my flat earth brothers. That's another one of those, learn how to read. And he said, I'm an amateur astronomer. He goes, I have some very expensive equipment. He goes, I set it up, put it on my computer, and I direct it to where I go. He goes, I take the same pictures as NASA. And he goes, no, I'm not a NASA plant. I can go to their website and I can see the pictures that they take of the planets or the solar systems or whatever and go, It looks just like the one I took with my $5,000. That's another one of those I'll get all ramped up about. It's also making a communication about the Nephilim and modern DNA manipulation. That's a thing, right? They tried to stick everybody with a needle a couple years ago, and that had some DNA implications. And I know you're going to have your favorite YouTube guy who, or even news story. You got guys that come out and they'll say, I worked in such and such program and I saw the bodies and I saw the craft. All right. 20 years ago, from 2000 to 2004, I was in a top secret job. I was all still God and country. I was in this job when 9/11 happened. I had to redo my inner being to lie because I had to tell lies. Because I didn't want to go to jail for devolving top secret information. And if they would have asked me at that time to get on national television and say that I saw alien bodies or I saw craft, and if I was part of a group of people that are trying to cover up all the advanced technologies and stuff that our government has, I'd have done it. To make sure that our adversaries don't know what we are capable of doing. That's not what I was doing. Just saying, I'm using that as an example. That just because some guy gets on there and says, I work for this organization, he's a plant. He's all about the country. You go, well, there's all these F-18 fighters, and look at all these videos and all these things, and okay. They were asked to do it. And they came out and told lies. And then people go, well, that guy was a captain. Well, that guy was a colonel, and he was coming out. And what has he got to gain out of this? Maybe to make sure that people go, hey, look at all those aliens. What's this over here that they're testing? I don't know, but there's aliens over here. You don't think that's a reality? So just be careful with that, because now, I was listening to one guy this week, and I was like, that's the best argument I ever heard for a rapture, which was the alien abduction thing, and how they were going to come out and tell lies about it. And I was like, that actually makes sense, But I don't know. Billy and I joke all the time. That's the one theological position we hope we're wrong on, because I don't want to be here. What's the other thing everybody's getting excited about? Temple theology, red heifer. That's something that should make you go, that's interesting. Because before, the longest time, it was, did you hear they had a red heifer? And then everybody's talking about it. They're going to build the temple and 88 reasons, and it's the 88th reason. Oh, it wasn't good, so they don't have a red heifer anymore. They got 4 now. One was disqualified. Okay, so they still got 3, and they're within 2 weeks of meeting the age requirement. That's very interesting. And if our end times theology is true, they need that in order to rebuild the temple. And they've already built the platform for it, so they ain't fooling around over there. One of the guys at Hamas said it was when they flew the red heifers to Israel, that was one of the things that pushed them to go ahead with what they did on October the 7th, because they know that means they're getting serious. But at the same time, do you realize that is a very small percentage of the population of Israel? Half of Israel are secular, and then the probably of the remaining 50%, 20 or 30% of those are just like, we'll go to synagogue every now and again and on the high holy days. And the ultra-Orthodox guys that are really looking forward to this are a very small percentage. Because even within that community, they're like, don't do that. Only Messiah's going to do that. And these guys are going, yeah, we're just getting the ashes ready for him. We know he's got it, So that's something to watch. And by the way, that's within a few weeks, Passover. They say the speculation is they're going to do it by Passover. So we put that we'll wait on that. We'll keep an eye on this AI thing and all this global conflict and financial stuff and whatnot. All right, one of the things I think you need to be paying attention to is the Iran narrative has shifted. Ever since October the 7th, I am if I was a bet man, I'd put it all on black. That when Blinken landed in Israel on October the 9th or 10th, whatever it was, that behind closed doors, Netanyahu said, you handle Iran or we will, because you know that's who's behind this. And you're listening to the talk about Hamas and their connection to Iran. Hezbollah in the north, their connection to Iran. The Houthis in Yemen, their connection to Iran. And you're hearing the Iran, just like you did in 2003. Iraq. I think they're preparing us for something. What's interesting is Russia, Turkey, and Iran have a nice little pact. So if they get struck, what does that mean? I don't know. We should probably watch it though. And then China, are they potentially the kings of the East because of their connection with those other guys? Something to watch. But I think it was a thing that Billy talked about years ago, and there was a video on YouTube, and it says all wars are bankers' wars.
Great video if you haven't seen it, it's on YouTube.
And right now, Iran has been selling oil to China and to Russia. They've been selling arms to Russia and North Korea, by the way. And people have forgotten about that little stealth drone that Iran got a hold of about 2 or 3 years ago. Well, guess who's got that technology now? Russia. And then you have, reaching back into the financial pile, there's a little thing called BRICS. It's a new currency that the people in the East are working on. And if they ever lose the petrodollar, America's done. If the world decides they want to stop operating in dollar being the global currency, America's done. So why do I say this? Because any war that we're doing with China or Russia or Iran is to try and put that to bed. That it's not about some great moral, ethical reason that we're trying to stop them. It's because if they go through with their plan, they will destroy the country. And so how do people make money? They go to war. So I think that all of those things need to be watched. And I know a lot of people are also talking about the China-Taiwan stuff. There's a guy I work with, so be careful with the guys you look at online that are telling you this and all of this, in case he's got this one guy that pops up on her feed and she's like, here's his daily, and then what we're hearing now is this and that. And I was like, you know, I have to maintain a security clearance for what I do. It's not top secret, it's just secret. But I still have friends that are still active, and I don't have any friends in that job that I used to do. I actually work with one of the guys that we used to do that top secret with. We don't talk about that world. We don't even act like we know that world. The reason I say that is because I could get on and create a YouTube channel, and I could say that I have friends and that I used to do this for the government without saying what I was doing, and that I know people, and I could give myself credibility. Just because people are saying things doesn't mean they're true, all right? You know they make money by getting you to click on their video, right? Okay, so just be careful with the latest guy who's still spouting that the head of the CIA is in Germany, you know, trying to get a hold of all of the servers from the election stuff, okay? You're like, what? People were putting that stuff out. And I'm telling you, if Hollywood wants to do anything, they should make a movie about what happened from November to January. You want to talk about some of the craziest conspiracy theories, they should make a movie. I just think it would probably go over well. So, and I'm just going to tell you one of them. There's a guy I work with, he's a retired lieutenant colonel. And he came in and was like, yeah, we're all getting recalled. I was like, I'm not, I'm too old. And he said he has a friend who is a retired full bird colonel who now does some of that communication liaison kind of things like at the Pentagon and stuff. And they're saying that all the talk is China. And so he didn't have any like secret information that he was saying. He was just saying that's what the talk is. And so off the cuff, the colonel guy said, we're all getting recalled. It's coming probably a lot sooner than we realize. Does that mean anything? I don't know. I'm using this to say that people can get you wrapped up about things. So we need to make sure we're being led by the Spirit and being led by common sense. And so the reason I'm doing all this stuff is because I know you guys are seeing the things that are going on that are on the news, your favorite Facebook, your favorite TikTok, YouTube video, whoever. And yes, we need to be aware and be paying attention, but just don't jump on everything. And for those who aren't watching, we're like, dude, we have no idea what you're talking about. I'm scared to death right now, right? That's why I'm doing this too, because I don't want you to wake up one morning and go, what's going on? There's an eclipse? Hey, why? I didn't know the border was open. There are people who live that way. They just do. So, and it's great to be happy and just go, everything is great, everything is awesome. What's that Bob the Builder dude or whatever his name was? I don't know. I forgot the movie. Lego thing, whatever it was. And there's people who just live that way. I'm not trying to scare you to death. I just, again, because it's in our blood as Hebrew roots guys to go, there's a conspiracy everywhere. Maybe. Because, I mean, and that's legit. Because there really was a conspiracy to keep this stuff hidden from us for a couple thousand years. So, I mean, but now we just take it over everything. Okay. All right, would you put that image up on the Israel? Economist is a secular news magazine. They understand where Israel's at right now. The guy that you heard that was in that video that I played, that's the guy that is John Haller. He's the guy I reference all the time. He's a lawyer. He's a balance guy. He's a facts guy. And so I really encourage you to go to his place for the most balanced stuff, because he approaches things the way I do, which is, this is interesting. We should watch this. I would not recommend the other Pentecostal guy I listen to, because everything is coming to an end, in 5 minutes. But because that's coming. And you could argue that it's here. All right, what did our illustrious leaders do for Israel this past week at the UN? They abstained from a vote when they were trying to force the Gaza withdrawal. And then, but do you know what was the other one? So they abstained from the one, and they voted yes on the other. And it was yes to declare the ceasefire, I think. And you know who stopped that one from going through? Russia and China. They implemented their veto power to prevent the U.S. from doing what it was trying to do. And we're about to unilaterally force a Palestinian state upon Israel. Not just us, all of Europe. And so they've said that if Israel does not come to the table and accept very quickly a Palestinian state, that, then I forget the nations, it was 10 or 12 nations. I know a lot of people are going, 10? However many it was Western Europe and America and all that, and they're saying, if you don't do this, Israel, we are going to declare a Palestinian state, and we're going to tell you what the borders are. So remember when I talked about Ezekiel 38 and all that stuff a few weeks ago? I want to read something from, where are you at? Zechariah 12. It says, behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of drunkenness to all of the surrounding peoples when they lay siege against Judah and Jerusalem. And it shall happen in that day that I will make Jerusalem a heavy stone for all peoples, and all who would heave it away will surely be cut in pieces, though all the nations of the earth are gathered against it. In that day, says the Lord, that I will strike every horse with confusion and its rider with madness, and I will open my eyes on the house of Judah, and then I will strike every horse of the peoples with blindness. And this whole part, he does more about what's coming against those nations. And he says, I will pour out on the house of David and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and supplication, then they will look upon me whom they will have pierced. Joel, what does Joel 2 tell us? 3 in verse 2. He said, I will also gather all of the nations and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, and I will enter into judgment with them there on account of my people, my heritage Israel, who they have scattered among the nations, and they have also divided up my land. Ezekiel 38 and 39 uses the same terminology, that they have taken my land and gave it to themselves as a possession. He says, and I will in my burning fury go after those nations. I have always said that the very last straw for God is when we turn our back on Israel. Israel's alone. But we've also said they have to be. Because it can no longer, because the world still believes that America is the protector of Israel instead of God. And so, who knows over the next few months what happens. Is there this grand cabal or just the illusion of a world government? I personally think that these guys think that they can implement some sort of secular, communistic, socialistic world government because they think that they can finally bring peace to mankind. Now, I'm not quite sure I'm at the place where they're all worshiping the devil and all the secret, devil society stuff and all that other stuff. Huh?
So they don't have to, you just have to get us to reject Jesus.
Right. And I'm not sure that that's the case. And it may be, but I think what's going to happen is they're going to have the illusion that they got control. And then when they lose control, because they don't realize the spiritual realm that they're dealing with, out steps the man with the plan. Brings the peace. That's my theory. But you know what? If I was wrong about that, that would be the third one. So we have to watch them and see what's going on. And I do think, and the reason I think all of this is happening, I went through the 6 days, 6,000 years, and then Hosea, and after 2 days, and on the third day they will raise up, and all of these things that had hints of the timetable on where I think we're at. And I don't believe it's an accident that what we're watching with America and it's losing its influence. I told you last week, we couldn't get our airplanes up in the air the previous week. Didn't have enough parts. It's not just here. So something's going to happen to take us off the world stage. I don't know if that means we're a big smoking hole in the ground, or if we've just got so much going on, we've lost our influence and we've got a lot of internal strifing. I do think a very strong hand of judgment's coming just because too much is given, much is required. Solomon would be jealous of America and the power and the wealth, and the Romans would be jealous of the military power and might that we wield. Nobody in the history of mankind has been as blessed as this nation, and it was all done because of the gospel. And I think that as we continue to turn back, let me finish with this one. Let's add this to the, so you know what Sunday is, right?
As in tomorrow.
Easter, right?
First day
To the vast majority of the world, everybody's celebrating Easter. You know what the White House said it is? Transgender Day of Visibility. We honor the extraordinary courage and contributions of the transgender Americans and reaffirm our nation's commitment to forming a more perfect union where all people are created equal and treated equally throughout their lives. Of all the days in the world that you want to have a transgender day, you pick Easter Sunday?
Well, it's because all those eggs are different colors. Come on.
That's right.
It's all the colors of the flag.
Right. And that's the stuff where I just sit here and go, oh my word. Oh my word. Can it get any worse? Yep. Can it get any worse? What? Right, it was a typo. And there were so many politicians and religious leaders come out and go, have you lost your mind? And Joe's going, what?
No, Joe went, yeah, wait, what?
Right. And we do have to laugh about it. We do, because it's coming, right? It's coming. And so I'm going to close up with this. Next week, I'm going to get into the eclipse stuff. I want to give you a balanced approach to that too. And I'll give you one example. In 1999, there was an eclipse that went across Turkey. In 2006, 7 years later, it went the other way and formed an X right over the middle of Turkey. Last time I checked, Turkey's still there.
Well, for now.
So I'm saying these things because everybody has turned this into the end. And I'm just going to give you some of the facts and give you some past times where people took astrological events and said, this is it. And I'm going to tie that all together, why I do think we should pay attention to what's going on. And I really think that if you've not gotten serious about the condition and we just kind of have this hope that somehow this is going to balance out, I've said it before, if I'm missing and I don't know certain groups that we can connect with, connection and unification of the body is the only way we make any change or any progress in the country. But I don't believe it's coming, because I do believe judgment's coming. I do believe we're going to collapse, because it fits very perfectly with all of the end time scenarios that people have laid out. And we'll find out which one's true as things start to unfold. And then we'll deal with it, whatever it is the Lord is going to do in the midst of all of that. I do believe, and I believe there is a coming of revival. But if you look at the book of Revelation, when it talks about all of those who came out of the Great Tribulation, it says that they couldn't be numbered. I think that it's the best way to describe it is the greatest catastrophe in the history of mankind, while simultaneously the greatest revival in the history of mankind. That we will see more people saved in that 3.5 or whatever it is than the entire previous 5,993 years. I believe that's going to happen. It'll be, you won't be able to keep up with how many people are coming into the kingdom, because many people who have walked away from God are going to go, I remember this. And I said something to this guy I work with. Again, I'm sorry, it's the way I communicate. This guy's an atheist. I've told a couple stories about him. We tried to talk about things, and his last day, he's done. So he's now retired. He's 62. He went out and bought him like a $400,000 travel trailer and going around the country, and that's what he's doing. And so I walked up to him and I said, enjoy the fruits of your labor. I said, you see your card, what I wrote on your card? He goes, I did. He goes, I wasn't expecting anything less. And I wrote on there, I said, as you're traveling around the country, I said, remember Psalms, I think it was 91:18 or where it was, where it says the heavens declare the glory of God. And he kind of laughed at that. And I said, as you're driving around this wonderful country and you're seeing all of this stuff and you still don't believe in God, I said, you're an idiot. I told you, I said, look, I'm going to say it like we always communicated to one another as pilots and loadmasters. And it's true. And I think even he's going to go, when everything starts falling apart, and go, hey, dude, can we talk? Right? And so I say all of this so you get a balanced approach to it. I do want us to be sober. I'm not trying to scare anybody. I want us to be sober and just be aware of the things that are going on. Take a balanced approach. Don't be scared. Check your spirit. Remember when I concluded last week, I said, make sure you're doing some internal investigation. Is there any sin in here? Am I missing anything? Am I not right? Anything that I got to lay before the altar? So we need to do that. And then we'll talk about next week whether there's some real logistical things about being ready and whatnot, and see how that kind of plays out. So please don't believe everything you see on YouTube and TikTok and Facebook, okay? And I'm okay with you calling me, asking me, and sharing me the video. And I got time, I'll skim through it and watch it. But those guys really are causing a lot of fear and anxiety, and they're putting out a lot of false information. So, and I know last year I was kind of shouting, but our focus needs to be on the kingdom. And so if that's true, again, if it's true, how glorious a time do we live in? Yeshua would say to us today, the prophets of old longed to see the things that you now see. And again, I pull back and go, I'm waiting. It's got to be it, right? It's got to be it. And so let's just be cautious. Heavenly Father, we bless you. Please do not allow the spirit of fear to come upon us. That we know that many people, groups, political groups, religious groups are coming against the body of Christ. And Father, we have lived very well in this nation, having the freedom to walk up and down the street, to talk about Jesus, to come in these public settings and just meet without fear of persecution, Lord. And shame on us when we've taken that for granted. But help us to realize that your word says that when the enemy realizes that his time is short, no matter where they're at, he's coming after the people of God. And if that means they catch us in a corner one time and that we have to give our life, Yeshua said that may happen. He said that we may be brought before councils, before judges, and that they may kill you thinking that they're doing God a favor. And if that's the case, I pray that we would have the boldness to stand But help us to not be afraid, even if it's not that time. Help us to not be afraid as we see the things happening in our nation, because there are going to be people who are afraid. There are people that have put their trust in politicians and systems. And when those things fail them, they're going to be looking to the body of Christ for answers. Help us to not falsely declare this is that, or that this thing is happening over there. Help us to be sober and accurate in the things that we are seeing. Your word says that the Spirit of God would show us the things that are to come. Yes, we would like to know the day and the hour, but we know that's not true. And so we want to know and have an understanding, and help us to do from the Spirit, but also in the natural, and just see all of the events that are happening, and to be at peace. To be at peace no matter the outcome, and to be a voice, and to be a light. To not be ignorant, but to have knowledge so that we're not deceived. Father, I bless you for these people. I love these people. I just thank you for them. I thank you for their hearts to serve you, their hunger to seek you, to seek your face, to seek your wisdom and your knowledge and your word and through your presence. And we just pray for the spirit of peace that would be upon us no matter what it is that we're walking through. And we thank you for this time in Yeshua's name. Amen.
When in the Central Arkansas area, we would like to invite you to join us in person. Shabbat service begins at 1 p.m. each Saturday, with Oneg at 3 p.m. and Torah study at 4 p.m. All service times are Central Standard Time. Thanks for watching.